Good morning. Thanks so much for checking in with us here at Atlanta News First Plus on your Sunday morning, second half of the holiday weekend. Hope everyone has been enjoying their time and able to get outside a little bit. Are you enjoying the lower humidity? We'll talk to First Alert meteorologist Isaac Williams in just a minute to get an update on our forecast. I'm Megan Packer here with what's making news across North Georgia on this Sunday morning. And here's what we are learning out of DeKalb County about a breaking story from last night. This involved a shooting at a park. Here's what it looked like at Chapel Hill Park last night as officers worked this scene. We now know 2 people were shot at this park. We had been told initially 3 people were shot, but it turns out the third person was injured by glass. That was an update we just got from police this morning. So this happened around 7:30 last night, Chapel Hill Park, not far from Flakes Mill Road in that part of DeKalb, if you're familiar with it. DeKalb County police say a 19-year-old young woman was taken to the hospital in critical condition. No update on the condition at this point of the second person who was shot, and police are still looking for the shooter. So again, 2 shot, a third injured by glass, cut by glass, after those shots rang out around 7:30 last night at Chapel Hill Park. You know, you can see a playground there. No word on if young children were there. 7:30 though, early enough for something like this to happen. Certainly unnerving and pretty nerve-wracking for people who live in that area. Looking ahead to tomorrow, the Atlanta City Council is expected to vote tomorrow, Monday, on whether vape and smoke shops can open near schools. If approved, that ban would start immediately and prevent those shops from being within 1,000 feet of schools and daycares. The Atlanta-based Centers for Disease Control say that e-cigarette use is the most common tobacco product that young people use. We will keep an eye on that vote as that unfolds tomorrow at the Atlanta City Council. It's been a wild weekend on the water across Georgia. There have been several dangerous situations, including this here. This is the 23-foot cabin cruiser that we've talked about since Friday. It exploded while it was getting towed on Lake Lanier near Margaritaville. This is a look at the victims being taken off that boat, adults and children, one as young as 5 years old. They had second and third degree burns to their body after that boat went up in flames and exploded while it was getting towed. We're learning there were 2 other boat explosions this weekend, one on Lake Notley in Union County that injured another 7 people. There was a man who drowned after he fell into a pond while fishing in Wheeler County. An 18-year-old was struck by lightning on Lake Blue Ridge when he was riding a scooter. According to the Department of Natural Resources, he was taken to the hospital in stable condition. There were 4 boats that either capsized or sank, we're told. And in Putnam County, there is still an active search for somebody who fell off a boat. That person was a passenger on a boat and did not resurface. So just a reminder about the importance of being safe and aware when you're on the water, whether it's the river or the lake, a small pond in your neighborhood, and to wear a life jacket. Reading through a lot of the information that the Department of Natural Resources shared with us, a lot of people were wearing their life jackets, which no doubt played a part in saving lives this weekend. In Pike County, there was an incident. We talk about this sometimes. A deputy's car got hit by a suspected drunk driver, and here is the aftermath. This was on Highway 19. Deputies say the driver was speeding when he hit the car that was pulled over on the highway for a crash investigation, but thankfully nobody out there was seriously hurt. And in Woodstock, be ready starting tomorrow to pay more to park in downtown. In April, the city council there approved charging for less than 300 street and service lot spots 7 days a week between the hours of 10 and 8. The first hour is free, then it's $2 an hour after that. Handicap spaces are free but limited to 3 hours. And the city says the goal is to make it so more people can park downtown to visit shops and restaurants. It is a great day to get out and visit some shops and restaurants. It's already warm though, but we haven't been having the humidity, which is nice. So we will bring in First Alert meteorologist Isaac Williams to talk a little bit about that. And Isaac, it's just been really nice, all things considered, for a holiday weekend, right?
That's right, Megan. We have been seeing such good weather after a pretty rough stretch of weather there recently with the storms. But right now we are enjoying some sunshine on this Sunday morning, and it's going to continue throughout the day today and into tomorrow. Next week also looking to be pretty nice as well. So here's a look at the forecast here. You saw a sunny skyline in Atlanta the rest of the day. Temperatures making their way up into the 90s. We're going with about 93 or 94 today. And the best news about it, as Megan mentioned, the humidity still is abnormally low for this time of the year and this time of the month. So we're not going to see a heat index factor at all today. In fact, the heat index may actually be a degree or two lower than the actual air temperature, which is, again, very, very rare in these parts. Here's a look at Futurecast going forward here. We have, again, this pocket of dry air sitting right over North Georgia. And on the edges of the dry air, we could see a tiny chance at a shower. I've been watching some of the models here for late this afternoon, and they've been kind of favoring the South Carolina-Georgia border maybe to see a brief shower, or maybe areas near Rome. But really, I'm really not expecting a whole lot. The dry air, I think, is going to do its job and kind of keep things just that, nice and dry for the rest of the afternoon. Tomorrow, probably the hottest day, or one of them, at 95 degrees, a mix of sun and clouds, but we're still keeping the rain chance near 0%. So this dry weather that we've enjoyed all weekend is going to continue into at least Monday of next week before we see some changes come in by the middle of next week, which I'll talk about coming up here. Chantal, a tropical storm, made landfall this morning as a 50-mile-per-hour storm near the North Carolina border. Technically, the Hurricane Center calling far eastern South Carolina the landfall point. The maximum sustained winds were 50, so it did strengthen a little bit from its weaker state yesterday, but thankfully the wind aspect of the system is not super strong. But we are seeing a pretty heavy rain threat develop across portions of North Carolina today along and east of I-77. So if you know anybody in Greensboro or Raleigh, North Carolina, Durham, they could be seeing some heavy pockets of rainfall today that could slide into Virginia this afternoon and tonight. But we're on the west side, the dry side, and that's the reason that dry air is kind of being cemented in place across North Georgia, is that we're seeing winds around Chantal actually bring in dry air from the mountains to the north here. Here is a look at Futurecast. Well, before we do that, I want to go and talk about Futurecast for the next couple of days. So here is a look at Sunday setups. We have the tropical moisture along the eastern half of the North and South Carolina area, and we're going to see Chantal sort of push this tropical moisture northward. And notice the absence of green over North Georgia. In this case, in this map, is showing the humidity or the dew point. And basically, we're seeing that huge drop-off, and that drier air over North Georgia should, again, keep us nice and dry. And that's what Futurecast here is also showing as we kind of take a look at the model here. The center of Chantal, of course, will spin down over the Carolinas, but notice that heavy rain threat will continue to push through the Triad and into Virginia. On the west side of the system, hardly any rain showing up on Futurecast here today. In North Georgia, that low is going to continue lifting toward the mid-Atlantic states, and then we'll be kind of stuck in that dry weather pattern at least through Monday. Notice widespread storms potentially closer to the Gulf Coast and then closer to a weak front up in the Ohio Valley, but we're kind of in a minimum of rain coverage here across North and Central Georgia. So that is the reason that we're keeping the forecast dry going into Monday afternoon and into Monday evening. I also want to talk about briefly the Texas floods. A lot of interest, of course, a lot of tragedy from Central Texas, and this is kind of the timeline from a National Weather Service standpoint. So we're kind of looking at the Guadalupe River and specifically and how it rose so fast and so quickly and caused 1 to 2 feet plus of water to rise. So on July the 3rd at 1:18 was when the flood watch was initially issued for Kerr County, and that is happens and operates just like a severe thunderstorm or hurricane watch does. It means that conditions are favorable for flooding. So they had, a nice heads up that some heavy rain was potentially going to be settling into the region. At 1:14 on July 4th, Friday morning, yes, it was in the middle of the night. That's when the initial flash flood warning was issued. The flash flood emergency was issued for those areas at 4:03, and then at 5:34, the flash flood emergency was sort of updated by the Weather Service to specifically include areas around the Guadalupe River that was obviously surging and rising really fast. So obviously here, this was a kind of a worst case scenario in terms of timing, since it was in the overnight hours and no daylight happening there. So something that certainly will continue to follow. Here's a look at radar estimates. So this is just a radar estimate of 20 inches of rain falling in the last 3 days. And these areas are just to the north and west of Austin. So very, very historic flooding ongoing there in portions of the Texas Hill Country. And they still have some storms there. You can see, here's a look at the radar over central Texas. So some storms look like they're still in progress here between Dallas and Austin. So we hope they can dry out soon and things quiet down there for portions of Texas. So back to Futurecast here for us in the southeast. So starting up Wednesday afternoon, we have some scattered showers and storms out there. And then going into Thursday, same deal. We'll see scattered showers and storms. This is more typical of a north and central Georgia forecast. Now this model, the resolution is a little bit lower once we get farther out in time. So it looks more widespread than it actually is. But I am expecting a general increase in scattered storms from Wednesday through at least Friday, and I think this pattern probably will hold at least through the weekend of next weekend. No day looks like it's going to be busier than others just yet. We don't have our higher resolution models available just yet, but we'll look forward to see if one day looks busier than the others. But right now we're looking at just your normal July pop-up storm chance starting Wednesday through Friday. The good news, though, is that the temperature will come down a little bit into the lower 90s. Here's another tropical update for you. So obviously Chantal making landfall this morning. No other tropical issues, though. No other areas of interest defined by the National Hurricane Center. So the Gulf, the Caribbean, the Western Atlantic, generally quiet. And there are no areas to watch in the next 5 to 7 days. Speaking of 7 days, here's a look at the 7-day forecast. So we're going to see the hot weather continue. And yes, it's going to stay hot even as the summer storms return, but the air temperature itself should be closer to 90 by next Friday. The heat index will probably be between 95 and 100, which is pretty common stuff here. And right now, again, we're about a 40% chance of storms Wednesday through Friday, with generally dry weather expected the rest of the day today and at least to start next week as everything kind of gets back to normal after a long holiday weekend. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your holiday weekend Sunday, and we'll see you back here a little later.
Stay up to date on your latest weather from the largest team of meteorologists in the Southeast. Download the First Alert Weather app for hour-by-hour forecasts and join us every weekday at 11:30 a.m. on ANF+. You can also text weather to the number on your screen, and we'll send a link directly to your cell phone.